In the early hours of August 30th, 2025, Russian commanders at an FSB facility in northern Crimea thought they were safe behind their defensive perimeters. They were wrong. Ukraine had been watching, waiting, and when the moment was right, they unleashed something Russia had never seen before. The Flamingo cruise missile, carrying a devastating 1,150-kilogram warhead that would change the dynamics of this conflict forever. Welcome back to Military of the World, where we bring you the most critical military developments shaping our global security landscape. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into Ukraine's game-changing Flamingo missile system and how it just delivered a strategic blow that has Moscow scrambling to reassess their defensive capabilities. To understand the magnitude of what happened in Crimea, we need to step back and look at the broader strategic picture. For over 3 years, Russia has maintained what they believed were secure positions across occupied Crimea, particularly their FSB border outposts and naval facilities. These installations served as critical command centers, coordinating surveillance operations and managing patrol boat deployments that controlled maritime approaches to the peninsula. The Russian military doctrine in Crimea relied heavily on layered air defense systems, S-300 and S-400 complexes, positioned strategically to create overlapping coverage zones. They believed this umbrella would protect their high-value targets from Ukrainian strikes. However, Ukraine's military planners had been studying these defensive patterns for months, identifying vulnerabilities and timing patterns in Russian command structures. What makes the August 30th strike particularly significant is that it wasn't just about the weapon system. It was about intelligence, patience, and precise timing. Ukrainian forces had been monitoring Russian command movements, waiting for the optimal moment when key personnel would be present at the facility. The Flamingo revelation. The weapon that changed everything is Ukraine's FP-5 Flamingo cruise missile, a system that remained one of the war's best-kept secrets until President Volodymyr Zelensky publicly acknowledged its existence in summer 2025. Developed by the Ukrainian defense startup Firepoint, this isn't just another missile. It's a strategic game-changer that puts virtually any target within 3,000 kilometers at risk. Let's break down what makes the Flamingo so formidable. The missile carries a massive 1,150-kilogram warhead. That's over 2,500 pounds of explosive power, making it more than twice as powerful as the American Tomahawk missile, which carries a 450-kilogram warhead. To put this in perspective, that's enough explosive force to level an entire building complex or create devastating damage to hardened military installations. The Flamingo measures approximately 6 to 7 meters in length with a 6-meter wingspan, giving it the aerodynamic profile needed for extended flight operations. Its turbofan propulsion system allows it to reach speeds of up to 950 kilometers per hour, nearly 560 miles per hour, while maintaining a cruising speed that optimizes fuel efficiency for maximum range operations. But raw power isn't the Flamingo's only advantage. The missile incorporates advanced navigation systems designed to resist Russian electronic warfare capabilities. This includes secure GPS modules and what Ukrainian officials describe as electronic warfare resistance technology, allowing it to maintain target acquisition even in heavily jammed environments. Production and strategic implications. Remarkable transformation from a weapons importer to an indigenous defense manufacturer. Firepoint, the company behind the missile, reported they are currently producing roughly 1 Flamingo per day, with plans to scale up to 7 missiles daily by October 2025. This production rate might seem modest compared to mass-produced systems, but consider the strategic mathematics. 7 Flamingo missiles per day means over 2,500 missiles per year, each capable of delivering devastating strikes up to 3,000 kilometers away. That's enough firepower to fundamentally alter the strategic balance of the entire conflict. The economic implications are equally significant. Each Flamingo missile represents sophisticated Ukrainian engineering and manufacturing capability, reducing dependence on Western weapon supplies while creating a domestic defense industrial base that will serve Ukraine long after this conflict ends. Ukrainian officials have indicated they plan to produce thousands of these missiles annually, with President Zelensky's December 2024 announcement that Ukrainian forces would receive 30,000 long-range weapons in 2025, now appearing increasingly realistic. The Flamingo program represents a cornerstone of this ambitious production target. More strategically, the missile's 3,000-kilometer range means virtually no target within Russian territory is safe. From launch positions within Ukraine, Flamingo missiles can reach deep into Russia, potentially targeting command centers, logistics hubs, and strategic installations that previously considered themselves beyond Ukrainian reach. The Crimea strike, tactical analysis. Now let's examine exactly what happened during the August 30th strike on the FSB facility near Armyansk in northern Crimea. Intelligence reports indicate that Ukrainian forces launched at least 3 Flamingo missiles targeting the Russian Federal Security Service border outpost and associated naval facilities. The timing of this attack wasn't coincidental. Ukrainian intelligence had been monitoring patterns of Russian command presence at the facility, identifying when high-value targets would be present. The early morning timing suggests careful planning to maximize the element of surprise while catching personnel during shift changes or briefing periods. The missiles approached their target using what military analysts describe as a low-altitude flight profile, likely designed to avoid detection by Russian radar systems until the final approach phase. The Flamingo's advanced navigation systems allowed it to maintain precision targeting even in the presence of Russian electronic warfare countermeasures. Upon impact, the 3 missiles delivered a combined 3,450 kilograms of explosive power. That's nearly 7,000 pounds of ordnance concentrated on a single facility complex. The immediate results were catastrophic for Russian operations. 1 Russian serviceman was killed, 6 patrol boats were damaged or destroyed, and the entire facility suffered significant structural damage. Satellite imagery confirmed the strike's effectiveness, showing clear blast patterns, fire damage, and destroyed infrastructure. The patrol boats, likely fast attack craft used for maritime interdiction operations, represent a significant operational loss, reducing Russian naval patrol capabilities in the northern Crimean waters. But the psychological impact may be even more significant than the immediate tactical damage. Russian commanders across occupied territories now understand that no facility is beyond Ukrainian reach, fundamentally altering their operational security calculations and potentially forcing them to disperse critical operations across wider areas. Russian response and defensive measures. Russia's response to the Flamingo strike reveals both their concern about this new capability and the limitations of their current defensive posture. Immediately following the attack, Russian forces began reassessing the security of installations across occupied territories, implementing new dispersion protocols and enhanced air defense positioning. Russian military bloggers and official channels initially downplayed the attack's significance, describing it as limited damage from terrorist attacks rather than acknowledging the strategic implications of Ukraine's new long-range strike capability. This messaging strategy indicates Moscow's concern about the psychological impact these strikes might have on both military personnel and civilian populations in occupied areas. More significantly, Russian air defense deployments have begun shifting patterns, with S-300 and S-400 systems repositioning to provide better coverage against low-altitude cruise missile approaches. However, military analysts note that Russia's air defense network was primarily designed to counter high-altitude aircraft and ballistic missiles, not low-flying cruise missiles with advanced countermeasure capabilities. The challenge for Russian forces is that the Flamingo's 3,000-kilometer range means potential launch positions span virtually all of Ukrainian-controlled territory, making it impossible to predict attack vectors or concentrate defensive resources effectively. This forces Russia to spread their defensive capabilities thin, potentially creating vulnerabilities in other areas. Intelligence reports suggest that Russian commanders are now required to implement new movement protocols, limiting the time senior personnel spend at any single location and requiring more frequent position changes, measures that inevitably degrade operational efficiency and command effectiveness. Strategic implications for the conflict. The introduction of the Flamingo missile system represents what military strategists call a force multiplier, a capability that amplifies Ukraine's overall military effectiveness far beyond the simple addition of new weapons. The strategic implications extend across multiple dimensions of the conflict. First, the psychological warfare aspect cannot be understated. Russian commanders and personnel in occupied territories now operate under the constant awareness that they are within range of Ukrainian precision strikes. This psychological pressure affects decision-making processes, strategic thinking that will influence military developments far beyond the current conflict. For Russian commanders across occupied territories and within Russia itself, the message is clear. There are no safe havens, no secure rear areas, and no distances too great for Ukrainian precision strike capabilities. The Flamingo has arrived, and the strategic landscape will never be the same. This has been Military of the World. Subscribe for more analysis of the military developments shaping our global security environment, and we'll see you in the next video.